Hello and welcome back to the Adrian Project. Hello. Many thanks for choosing to click on my thumbnail and to watch my content. Very much appreciated as always. Okay, so it's been a while. It's been nearly 2 or 3 months since I've done anything on the U-boat build. That's because work got in the way. Then it was Christmas and I was ill because of the pandemic as well. I couldn't get varnishes and paints and everything I needed and blah. In general, life got in the way. So for those of you that's following my series of builds, my apologies, but we're now on the last lap. As you see from the title card, we're going to be doing the weathering and then the final reveal. So as I've said a few times before, I'm not going to go overboard on the weathering. I've seen a lot of great builds on here, and I think some of them have gone overboard with the rusting, because like I said before, the only parts that would go rusty really is the ones that's above sea level for a long time. So I don't think there's going to be as much rusting on as some people put on. But that's just my view, and it's how I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing the rusting to a minimum. What I am going to try and do is break up the greys on the side. I think they look a little too uniform. So what I got in plan to do for that is, firstly, before I put any varnish on, I'm going to try and use a black pastel. Like I did on my Eagle Transporter. I was happy how that came out, so I'm going to give it another go on here, because I just want, it's more of a suggestion rather than deep panel lines or anything like that. So like I say, it's just to break up the grey just a little bit. If that works, I will then put a gloss varnish on top so I can seal all that in. And then I will I'll come in and show you. Or if it doesn't work and come out like I want to, because I'll be trying it on a small section first. If the using the pastels doesn't work, then what I will do is I'll just varnish the whole model in a gloss varnish, and then I'm going to use oil paint as a sort of filter. Just to, like I say, just to break up the panel lines just a little bit. What I did notice on the top decking here as well, not all the top decking would have been wood. It would have been a uniform colour for the most part, obviously, but there are a lot of metal structures on here, so I am going to be doing just a mere hint of dry brushing with probably a gunmetal, probably a little dab of rust here and there, just to make it a bit more interesting, break it up. And also between the decking there, which were wood, I'm going to have a go. I don't know whether to use a brown panel line or a grey one. I think I might go with a brown, just to see how it comes out. Is it going to make it a little more interesting than just having that uniform black colour as well? A little bit of dry brushing here and there on the top. So that's what I'm planning on doing for, like I say, for the weathering. I'm not going to go overboard with it. I was in two minds whether to leave it as it was, just varnish it, get the decals on, and then do a matte coat. But now I think I'm going to do a little bit of weathering. I think it warrants it. especially on these top parts here, because that just looks like a lump of grey plastic. There's a lot of detail in here that needs to pop out, and it's not popping. So there we go. So that's enough of the waffle. All this is going to take me a good 3 or 4 days. I've got work involved in that as well. So when I do come back, the weathering part will be finished. I'm going to show you what it looks like before I put the decals on, and then of course I've got to put the lines here. I'm not sure what they were called, but there's some steel cables, weren't there, tension cables, to go on there, and then it should be finished for the final reveal. So what is going to be a blink of an eye for you is going to be a lot of hair pulling and screaming and swearing and effing and jeffing over the course of probably, like I say, 3 or 4 days or even a week. So here we go, and shazam! And we're back in the room. Okay, so as I said, I was going to try and do a little bit of weathering using the pastels. Now these are the pastels I use. They worked okay on my Eagle, but they just weren't doing anything on the submarine. Whether it's because this grey is too dark, I don't know, but it just wasn't happening. So I'm going to go down the route of using oil washers, pin washers, just to do a little bit of colour variation on the panels. Not too much, I'm not going to go overboard with it, as well as doing a little bit of rusting here and there as well. Also on the decking, I might do a really thin light grey pin wash to go between the decking panels, just to make it look like, you know, the seawater's got in there. And as you notice, whenever you're near the beach, when seawater gets on anything, when it dries, it leaves that salty crust on everything. So it'll just be a hint of it. I'm not going to go overboard, like I said. So what I did do, I coated the whole model in Humbrol gloss enamel varnish from a rattle can. So easy, quick job that. Let that dry for 24 hours, and then I've put the decals on. Now, normally Revell decals I have absolutely no problems with at all, even the small ones. However, these ones here, especially for the waterline, those ones there were an absolute nightmare. They break so easily. It made it really difficult to get them on and positioned, because you just needed to move it just a smidgen and it ripped the decal. They are so thin and flimsy. I don't know whether it's because you know, the decal fix that I use decal fix, Humbrol decal fix, but I've never had a problem with it in the past, or whether it's just the decals themselves, I don't know. But be aware, if you've got this kit, you're going to have to be really careful with those ones. The only other decals that went on are the star one. Now, I didn't realise that the lifesaver belt there was going to go over the decal, so I had to cut the decal because there was no space to get the decal underneath it. So that's just another thing to remember if you're making this kit. You may want to leave the life preserver, you know, this that red thing there. Like to leave that off before you put the decal on. But there we go. So I've now got to go and seal those with some more gloss varnish. They were left for 24 hours, so they've got to be sealed again. I've also started on the stand where I did here. I just went over it with the semi-gloss black that I've got in the can that I used on the decking. There was the smallest bit of grey left in one of my cans, which was sort of spitting out. There was hardly that much in it, but it made a nice little effect on there, so it's broke up the black a little. I'm going to go over it dry brush it over some of the raised bits, probably dapple a little bit of gold leaf paint on, just to make it a little bit more interesting before I put the decals on, and then I can varnish those in, and then that will be stand finished. When it comes to displaying the stand, I am going to be gluing the submarine onto the stand, because when you take it off the stand, you do have to fiddle about to get it back in the right position, because on the underneath, I'm not sure if we're going to see this on there, there are two little grooves somewhere. I can find it there, just there. There's two little grooves there that go on the front part of the stand, and it takes a while fiddling about to get them into place. So I will be just a little dab of glue just there and there, just so I'm not having to keep faffing about with the stand, putting it on and off. Also, what I've done, I put the flag decal on some tin foil. I'm going to try and draw a swastika on. It's going to be a bit crude, but it doesn't matter, because when I come to do this, I'm going to fold it in half over some string to be used as the rope, put it onto the flagpole, and then I'm going to fold it and ruffle it, so it's not going to be flat out like that. It's going to be hanging ruffled like a flag would be when there's no wind. So there we go. So next part of the video then will just be like I say, all the weathering done. I've got these parts to put on. They're the turnbuckles, aren't they, for these here. Now what I did notice on my set, that set there are perfect, and that set there are broken, so just a little broken there, so I'm going to have to use a bit of super glue, jury rig that a little. That one's okay, that one's got to go on. They're going to be weathered with a little bit of rusting as well. So when all that's done, when we come back, it's going to be the final reveal. Now for you, it's going to be a blink of an eye, but for me, it's going to be a couple of weeks, because work's going to get in the way. So I'm only going to be able to have a couple of hours here and there on it. So there we go. So as we always do on my little video, for the final reveal, Shazam! But just before we get onto that bit, I had a little bit of a disaster. After I had applied the gloss coat, the seam where the stern part of the U-boat was joined onto the main hull was showing up really badly on the port side. So I decided it needed fixing. So I filled it, sanded it, and after I applied another coat of paint, the paint decided it was going to dry a lot darker than the original base coat. So I had to rush out and buy another can of spray paint of the same colour that we'd already applied, come back, resprayed it, and the crisis was averted. There was a little reaction with the varnish that sort of bubbled up for some reason, so I had to sand that back and revarnish it. It wasn't a great job, Mr. Perfectionist here, but I did manage to incorporate it into the rusted effect of the U-boat. Okay, so not quite the final reveal. So after the debacle with the stern of the ship, all that was cleaned up. I used a mixture of acrylic and weathering powders to get the rusted effect on the ship, and as always, because I really like the weathering part of it, I went a little overboard, and this is looking a lot more rusty than I had planned at the planning stage. I just meant to do a little smidgen here and there, but okay, hold my hands up, I did get carried away. So as we can see, I'm going to try and do my best. This is where we're at with some of the weathering. That's support starboard side, and there's the port side. I think I might have said that the seam was on the port side that I was having trouble with. It wasn't, it was the port starboard side. So there we go, looking a hell of a lot better. So there we go, which remains for me all to do now. I've got to put the flag on. So I did my own little freehand swastika. It was rough and ready, but it doesn't matter because the flag is going to look filled and you're not going to notice all that much anyway. So there's a little flag that I've got to put on. I've got to put these lines on, which I'll be glad to be putting on this part, because this part here dangling about has been really getting on my nerves for the majority of the build. I'll get all the lines on. So like I said before, there are a couple of these that are broken. That was a bit of a disappointment with the kit, but I've got to, excuse the shakes, but I've got to get in there with some super glue and fix I think at least one of those. We've got the other ropes, so that just leaves me to put all the lines on, and then we will well and truly be able to do a final reveal on my U-boat build. So it's going to be afternoon's work for me here. It's a nice sunny Sunday afternoon, so that's going to keep me busy. Oh, just thought I'd like to show you as well, just while I remember. That's how I've done my stand. Painted it black, a bit of gold, make it look worn. When it comes to, I will be gluing the U-boat onto the stand with a little bit of super glue, because it makes it awkward putting it on and taking it off. It will make it a hell of a lot easier if the stand is glued on anyway. I'm not going to be doing any kind of diorama build with this. It's going to be displayed on the stand at all times. So afternoon's work for me, but for you it's going to be a blink of an eye. It's took a fair few months, this has, on and off, because life has been getting in the way as usual and everything, but it's been around 6 months from the time that I started the build. So like I say, it's your kit, you spend a lot of money on it. Well, my wife spent a lot of money on it for me because this was a Christmas present. So you take your time, do your best. It's not a race. You do as much as when you need to feel like you need to do it. So like I say, just get these lines on, and then we will be doing the final reveal once and for all. So just to say, glad for you to keep watching my videos. Hope you enjoy the ride. Sorry it's taken so long, but there we go. Life gets in the way, doesn't it? So there we go. So without further ado, here we go with the final reveal of my Revell 1/72 scale U190 U-boat, and Shazam! And voila, there we are. After a 6-month ordeal of building and not building and building, I've finally got all the weathering done, all the rigging lines on, everything's done, matte coat, and this is the final model. Now, just one little tip before I go into details. All you modelers out there, get one of these in your modeling toolkit. They are an absolute lifesaver, especially if you're doing tall ships or anything where the rigging line has to go through a small hole. It's a needle threader. You get it from any haberdasher's anywhere that sells cotton and thread and needles and all that kind of thing. Get a couple of these, because they will save you a hell of a lot of hair pulling, swearing, and questioning how the hell you're going to get this piece of twine to go through such a small hole. That is the answer. Go out right now if you haven't got one. After this video is finished, and grab yourself a couple of those. They are absolute lifesavers. Okay, so as you can see, yeah, I did go overboard with the weathering. It's more weathering on it than I wanted. So, but like I said before, that's my favourite part. I did get a little carried away with it. Yeah, I'll be hands up and say that. But there we go. Just one word of warning: if you do have this stash in your kit, these little turnbuckle things there, the tension rods for the cables there, the ones of the kit are pathetically weak. They are awful. The sprue gates on them, they're like trees compared to the part. You get 6 in the kit. You only have to use 5, but 4 of mine broke. There was 3 of them that were broke already on the sprue when I got the kit out. Then I went and broke one, trying to get the line through. There's another tip: when you're putting the line through, put the line through the holes before you take it off the sprue. I know on one of them you're going to have to leave one of those free until you put it on, because you've got to get that line through. But for the most part, bit of forward planning and put the lines through them, because that's save you a lot of headache. Or what I would do, I'd say, if you've got this this kit in your stash, before you build it, go out and try and source yourself some photo etch buckles, tension rods, whatever they are. Get them. If you can get them, get the metal ones, then you'll save yourself a hell of a lot of headache there. So I say this kit's taken me a lot longer than I wanted to. That's because I've been on and off it. So like I say, with work, and then we had Christmas, and I was ill, and blah blah, couldn't get parts and all that. But it's not a race. You take it at your own time, your own speed. You do it, as fast as you want to do it. It's not a cheap kit. It's reasonably priced, but it's not cheap. There's a bird in here. It's not a cheap kit, if you know what I mean. So take your time with it, and it's a great model. I know people have said, oh, it's only a level 5 kit because number of parts in it. Well, no, you do really need to have quite a few builds under your belt to do this one right, because this rigging line here, that is a pain to do. These small guns are a pain to get right. The railings round the outside, that you do need a bit of jiggery pokery there, and it's a lot of patience. Plus, it's a big kit. You're not going to do it with a paintbrush. You are going to have either have an airbrush or do it as I did it and use rattle cans, the aerosol cans, because otherwise you're just going to get a right bodge job on it. Just another little hint as well: when you're doing this line here, what I do, because you've already got that in there, if you see my previous video, get it tied onto that, then get the line tied on through there till it goes up to there, and then do the middle one first. You've got the middle rod there because it splays out into 3. So do the middle one first. That gets you your tension in your line. Don't try doing it 1, 2, 3, because you're going to get sag then. Get the tension in your line with that one. It doesn't tell you to drill a hole in that top part there. That wasn't in the instructions, didn't say. So just keep in mind, you do need to drill a hole there. So you might want to do that before you glue it on. But then there is plenty of room to get that up and in there, and you can get the line pulled through, and then you just tie it off, glue it off, whatever you want to do. All I've done is glued it with super glue. All this is super glued on all the line and the rigging. So there we go. At long last, it's all over and done with. I'm going to take a breather for a couple of weeks because it has been a bit of a nightmare on and off, because like I say, these are broke, so I had to find a way of fixing them myself. What I did was I used the cotton, just leaving it on the sprue, so I've got the the distances right, and then use the cotton, because if you notice when you use super glue on this cotton, it sets hard. So there is a way of doing it right, you know, and sorting it out. On the back there, that was my first attempt. It is a bit of a bodge. It doesn't look right, but these three there, well, these three they're fine, and that's what I've done. I've just used a twine. So enough of the waffle. Let's get on with the final reveal of my Revell 1/72 scale U190 U-boat. And that's the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed that one. Please remember, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to my channel. It'd be very much appreciated. And also don't forget to ring that little notification bell.